Hey friends, welcome back if you've been here before. If you haven't, welcome to this space. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Molly, I'm your yoga teacher for the day and hopefully for future sessions as well. Today's gonna be a little bit different, pretty mellow, pretty flowy. We're gonna just do a spinal wave exploration followed with a little bit of activation. So we're gonna explore how our spine feels moving through this cat-cow motion in lots of different shapes. But throughout sprinkled, we'll also do some long held poses just for a little bit of core and full body activation. But overall, a very mellow class. You don't need any props. Doing this on carpet would also feel amazing. However, you need to feel comfortable. Go ahead and grab that stuff and then we'll get started. We'll lay down on our bellies all the way flat down onto the mat. And then rest your forehead on the backs of your hands. And feel your body start to sink into the mat. If it feels good, kind of wiggle your hips side to side, just to feel really rooted and planted here. Releasing through the low back space a little bit. And then find stillness. Your whole being start to collect here. So body is planted, mind is centered, and the heart is in tune. This practice is all about the little nuances and paying attention to subtlety. So throughout this class, if you ever want to close your eyes and just feel into what your specific being needs, please, please do. I'm here as a guide. I'm here to teach, but this is your own practice and exploration. So find what you need today. Start to tune into your breath, just the simple inhales and exhales. Belly pushing into mat, feeling up across the ribs and chest, and then releasing and softening. Begin this practice in this prone position, a bit of an introspective shape. Before we blossom out and bloom and stand up and do all that fun stuff, let's start here. Tuning into breath, knowing that we can always revisit that, and we will constantly revisit that aspect throughout this class. Our inhales and our exhales will guide us today. As you're ready, tend your fingers out to 10 and 2 o'clock. So create little mountain peaks underneath your fingers. We're going to move through an oscillating cobra. So press finger pads and tops of feet into the mat. Elbows reach up towards the sky and identify the back of your heart space. On an inhale, lift from this area. So back of the heart magnetizes up. And then as we exhale, we unfurl our spine. So belly button touches the mat, the ribs, the chest. And then the forehead and chin. Inhale, lift up to oscillating cobra. And exhale, release. Just warming up. And slight activation in the back body. Seeing how everything feels today. Maybe you get some cracks and pops. Totally normal. If you'd like, you can drop one elbow, look over the opposite shoulder. And then switch sides. If any movement ever compromises the quality of the breath, back off and let the inhales and exhales remain steady. A couple more here. Maybe engage the quads, lift your kneecaps off the mat slightly. Let's do one more here together. Lift up from the back of the heart. Head drops heavy, and then at the very top, you lift your chin from your chest. And exhale, slowly lower down to the mat. Followed by a little bit of activation. So zip your inner thighs together, point through your toes, inhale, Shalabhasana, locust pose. Hands skim the earth. The mat is pushing up against you like air pushing up as you're skydiving. And we're gonna fly here for about 10 breaths. So we'll do about 10 cycles through our flowy spinal waves and about 10 breaths through our activations and our core work. Nice and steady. We're lifting forward through the center of the chest to the top of the mat before we lift up. Stay here for 3 more breaths. Last inhale, grow a little taller and longer. And exhale, release down. Unclench your glutes, wiggle your hips side to side. And then hands frame the ribs, tuck your toes, sit your hips back to your heels. Find a really narrow child's pose, so belly is resting down onto thighs. The arms are stretched out in front of you. Starting to prepare and wake up a little bit more. We're going to move through cat-cow here. So it's going to feel different. But we always, just in case you don't know, cow pose is dropping the belly, lifting the tail, broadening across the collarbone, gazing up. This is our expansion, our back body activation. We inhale here, and then we like to exhale as we do cat pose, rounding in, separating through the shoulder blades, tucking tailbone in between your thighs. We like to exhale here as we contract. So those are the basic movements. Your pelvis moves with you as well. So see if you can find that here in your little narrow child's pose. Inhaling, energetically pulling your fingertips back as you reach your chest forward. And then exhale, round in, tuck chin to chest. Push the ground away. Your shoulders lift up towards your ears. Inhale, think cow spine. Spiral your inner thighs, your sit bones back behind you, and then exhale, curl it in. Go through 6 or 7 more breaths here. You can also play with lowering and lifting onto the elbows. Great practice to listen to music along the way, something really mellow. See if with each breath you can really undulate more through your spine and pay attention to the little subtle movements. Let's do 2 more here together. Last one, exhale, belly drops down onto thighs, forehead down to the mat. Rise up to a tabletop pose, bring your knees out to hip width distance, tuck your toes under, press through the L shape of your index finger and thumb, and then hover your knees off the mat. Holding here for 10 breaths in this little bear plank position. Low ribs knit in towards your spine. Belly hugs in on an exhale. Inhale, grow tall from crown of head down through sit bones. Exhale, solidify everything into center. 5 more breaths. Always option to drop the knees. Land in child's pose if you need. 2 more inhales. 2 more exhales. Strongly push the ground away. Good. Exhale, release knees to mat. Sit back into a child's pose. And then intuitively move through some spinal waves in this kneeling position. So ripple forward into your cat spine as you stack shoulders over wrists. And then exhale, untuck your pelvis. Send your sit bones back towards your heels. Your chest tries to reach forward, but your hips win. Kneeling spinal waves. Probably my favorite, one of my top 2 favorites, because it's just a place of learning and really tuning in, being humble in our bodies, being curious. And each day is a little bit different. So inhale, roll forward through cat pose, tabletop. Exhale, untuck the tailbone. Think cow spine as you sit back to an active child's pose. And just close your eyes. Maybe you want to take some more circular type movements with your ribs or hips. Getting everything mobilizing. My body is especially clicking today, so sorry about that if that is distracting. Maybe yours is too. Let's move through 5 more rounds, although I could literally just do this for an hour probably. So you know the motion now. Start to feel into it. And let your breath set the pace and set the depth. Three more. Inhale forward to cat pose. I might have already said 3, but now we're doing 3 more. Exhale, cow pose, sitting back to child's. 2 more. Last one here. Good. Exhale, sit back in a child's pose, but tuck your toes underneath your feet. Press your hands away. We're going to lift up into a turbo dog. So shins, ready, press up. Shins are going to hover off the mat. Hips are lifting high as if someone is pulling you back from your hip creases. Okay, 8 more breaths here. Wrap the outer armpits down, roll biceps up towards sky. Core is engaged, legs are steady. 5 more breaths. Thighs are burning. Always option to drop down if you need more softness today. 3. Push the ground away, lift the hips a little further back for 2. And 1. Glide your hips high, downward facing dog. And we start to move here. So ripple the spine, lift onto the balls of your feet, wave forward to high plank, shoulders stacking over wrists. And then exhale, bend as much as you need at your knees to sit your tail high to the sky, waving back to downward facing dog. Inhale, wave forward. Exhale, glide back. As you open up more, maybe you keep your knees straighter, maybe you melt your heels down towards the mat more, or maybe you don't. Doesn't really matter. More sensation through the back of the hamstrings if you initiate more from the pelvis and less from the knees. Okay, start to move with your breath. Inhale shifts you forward. Exhale guides you back. Undulating through each segment. Take your time through these movements. And let it be a really feel-good exploration. This is where we flow. Where we are, and we're doing what we're doing. And there's not really much else we need to focus on right now. The state of flow is being fully present, moving from one thing to the next. Do that for 3 more rounds here. Inhale forward, high plank, round through the spine, press the ground away. Exhale, send your hips high, bend through your knees. Down dog. 2 more. Shoulders might be talking at this point. We're gonna do one more round here. Your arms will get a break really soon. From down dog, take a breath in, and take a breath out. Good, ripple forward to plank one more time and we'll stay here for 10 breaths. So smile across the collarbones, pull the shoulders down the back body, keep the back of the neck long. Tuck your tailbone under slightly, press your heels back, engage your thighs so your kneecaps lift up towards the sky. Core is nice and stable, 6 more breaths. Follow your breath. 3, 2, 1. Glide it back, down dog. And then slowly walk your way to the top of the mat. Landing in Uttanasana, forward fold. Now, hug opposite elbows, find a ragdoll briefly. Shake out your arms, do whatever you need to do there. We're doing a lot of weight bearing. And I'll find some gentleness here. Really, really mellow, subtle movements. We're staying between an Ardha Uttanasana, so a halfway lift, right here. And then we're staying between that and a forward fold. Okay, so inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. And instead of making this a straight robotic movement, see if you can lead from the low part of the spine as you lift up halfway and iron out as you move up your spinal segments to the crown of your head. And then exhale, we initiate by bringing our belly down towards our thighs, reaching our chest out towards our big toes, and hanging our head heavy. Fingertips can come to the mat, come to your shins, come to a block. 7 more rounds here. This one feels nice and gentle for me, but pay attention to how it feels for you. Maybe you start to play with bending the knees more on a half lift and straightening them more on your full forward fold. Nice spinal wave movement. And let's do 3 more here. Inhale, iron out the spine forward as the roof of your mouth reaches forward, and then exhale, fold. Alright, a little core engagement. Swing your arms behind you, airplane arms. Sit back into your hips. Find a chair pose variation. Feet are nice and wide for this one. Hip width distance. Press your knees out, but also engage your inner thighs. Belly is not quite touching your knees. Lift it off a little bit. Fingertips are reaching energetically back behind you as the crown of your head reaches energetically forward. Pay attention to any flaring of the ribs. Make sure you're drawing them in on your out breath. 5 more breaths. Strong and steady here. Inhale. Exhale, sit a little deeper. Final inhale. And then exhale, release to your forward fold. Okay, if I had a second favorite, it's going to be this one, or top 2. We're going to move through circle chair. So if you haven't done this before, I'll really talk through the first 1 or 2 rounds, and then it's going to be a super embodied movement. Totally following the cues of your body and breath. So we start by bending your knees. Your belly is hugging down onto your thighs. And then you press the ground away. Lift from your pelvis. Start to stack your low back, your mid back, your upper back, your shoulders, your neck and head is the last thing to unfurl. Slight bend in the knees and hips. And then on the exhale, we hinge our hips backwards. Send our heart forward over our knees. Fold down until our belly rests onto our thighs. And our arms are just kind of along for the ride. So inhale, we rise up, stacking segment by segment. Unfurling at the top, and then exhale, hinge at the hips, send them back, belly reaches forward, head and arms drop. You can always bring this to one side at a time. Feels really good through the side body and neck. And moving over towards the other side. Everyone is different. Everyone needs something a little different right now. So take 5 more breaths here. Whatever you need. Close your eyes. Feel the spine move like a wave. Really heavy and soft and embodied for 2 more. Push the ground away, stand up tall. Take 1 more fold down. Good. On your next breath, come into Utkatasana chair pose. Your feet can come in more narrow if you're ready for that. Big toes to touch. Sliver of space between your heels. Arms reach high, biceps framing the ears. Sit back into your heels. And breathe. 8 more cycles. Close your eyes. That same steady breath that's with you in the good stuff is with you here now. Resiliently move through the feel-good flow, but also the hard, sticky stuff. 5 more cycles. Sit a little lower for 2. Final inhale here. And exhale, stand. Hands come to heart center. Close your eyes down. Find Tadasana, mountain pose. Good. From here, we'll move into kind of the most blossomed version of our spinal waves. Nice expanded standing posture. So on an inhale, cactus your arms. Reach your chest forward and up. Engage your glutes. And then exhale, round through your upper and mid spine as your arms reach in front of you. Shoulder blades separate. Fingertips press forwards. Inhale, open it up, cactus your arms. Exhale, slight bend in the knees and hips, round forward. 10 cycles total, or a couple in. Close your eyes. Feel how big and expansive your movements can be now. Good. No right or wrong. Opening up the arms, shoulder blades, hug down the back body, and then rounding through your spine, pressing forward, shoulder blades separate. 3 more. Last one, exhale around. And then stand, close your eyes if they aren't already, hands to heart center. And then release them down by your side. We're just gonna hold Tadasana. Kind of a funky pose to hold, but it's all about little subtleties today. So bring the shoulders back slightly, tuck the tailbone under slightly if you're prone to having that arch through the low back. and grounded through all four corners of your feet, growing tall through the back of the neck, the back of the skull, back of your palate of your mouth. Four more cycles. One more inhale. And then exhale out of your mouth. Step your feet wide, toes out, heels in. We'll find Malasana Yogi Squat. This is a lot for you to sit your hips in between your heels. Feel free to sit onto a couple of blocks or a bolster. And then just sway side to side to lubricate through your hip joints. And when you're ready, we're going to fold really, really heavy. So crouched posture here, really grounded, four limbs into the mat. Feeling kind of tucked and cozy into our body. Energy starting to settle and ground again. This will be a bit more of a small movement, but we're going to try to find our cat-cow here. So on an inhale, press your triceps or elbows into your thighs. Reach your chest forward, your hands will slide back towards your toes. Chin lifts from the chest, and then exhale, chin tucks into the chest, slide your hands forward, round even more through your spine. So inhale, find a little bit of extension. And then exhale, a little bit more flexion. Most of the motion will be happening through the neck and the upper spine. Your pelvis is kind of locked into place for the most part. This feels more like a safe zone for you. We got 5 more breaths. Sliding hands back, reaching chest forwards. Sliding hands forward, reaching back of the heart back. Two more. Last inhale, open up slightly. And exhale, close it back down. Now, option to stay in the yogi squat. We'll do a little engagement here with crow pose bakasana. So bring your knees to the back of your triceps or elbows. Start to shift your weight forward into the front of your fingers, especially the index and thumb. So more of the weight goes there, and eventually your feet become light and lift off of the mat. You can keep elbows bent and feet low out to the side, your knees out low to the side, or you can straighten your elbows, tuck your heels in towards your body, find crane. I'm going to go with crow because we're here for 8 more breaths. Holding steady, finding steady drishti, gaze point. Reaching your heart forward slightly, softening through the pelvic floor, through the inner thighs. 4 more breaths. Last inhale. Exhale, toes go to the ground, heels go to the ground, hips go to the ground. We lay all the way down onto our backs. Heels nestle in close to our hips. I'm going to move through some spinal waves in bridge pose. A nice final release here. So inhale, press through your heels, lift your tailbone, your low back, your mid back, your upper back. You can even bring your arms overhead. And then on an exhale, lower arms and start to wave down your spine from high to low until tailbone and sacrum land. like you're lifting up a pearl necklace off of the mat. And then lowering it back down. Move through your 10 cycles. Make a little low back massage. 3 more rounds. Last inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. Okay, final engagement here. Sit on up. I'm going to move into Navasana boat pose. Many modifications. You can leave your heels planted onto the mat and just lift your arms. You can lift your legs up to this knee bent position. You can straighten your legs. You can reach your arms overhead. Find where you are, where your body is today. 10 breaths. Femurs are plugging back into their hip sockets. Low belly is nice and engaged. 7 more breaths. Chest is proud and lifted. Energy shooting through your fingers and toes. 5, 4, 3, shaking, 2, and 1. Release. Hug your knees into your chest. Sway side to side or roll up and down your spine, whatever feels good. And then meet me in a seated posture. Crossing one leg and the other, whatever feels better today. I'm going to just move through a cat-cow here. Hands on your knees, reach your chest forward, and then tuck chin into chest. Kind of our transition from a really grounded bridge pose and Navasana, moving into the rest of our day and life. Waking up just a little bit here. If you would like to move into Shavasana from your bridge pose, please do. I'm going to do 5 more here. So if you want, you can switch the cross of your legs. Let it feel good. 2 more breaths. Moving through the spine. Engaging through the core. And for 1 more. Exhale, release. Out of your mouth, all the air. Hands come to heart center or third eye. Thank you guys for practicing with me. Namaste. So I know that class was a little bit different, definitely flowy and just a little bit of core. So it's what felt like, or it's what I felt like my body wanted to do a few days ago. And so I wrote down all the things I did. It felt so good. So I hope you put on some music, have a glass of wine, whatever you need to do to really get into the space and settle in here. So I hope you liked it. If you did, please share it with others so they can join alongside us. And then subscribe so you see the next channel, or the next video on my channel, and I'll see you next time.